All right. Welcome, Islam, and welcome to Sisters Standing on Law. This is your host, Annie L., along with my co-host, RVBey.
Islam, peace and love to all, and welcome back yourself, Sister Annie. Let's see if we welcomed you back on the Circles of Readers, National Principles, and how here we are, just standing on law. Peace and love to you.
Peace and love. All right.
All right.
Peace and love to all our listeners, future listeners, callers. And it's still kind of crazy, but it's good to be back. It's good to talk. It's good to get back talking about, issues relative to the family, because that's what it's all about. And so today's broadcast is entitled Declaring Your Nationality. And, when we look at everything that is going on across the nation, conversations that we have with people, the things that callers are calling in and saying, and just looking at the prophecies and the statements. Everything is right and correct. Everything. Everything is right, exactly in accordance with the prophecies and the statements. And it's in harmony with principles of nature. So we felt that with all that is being discussed, we might need to talk about this once again, because we've talked about this in the past, but I guess, every now and then we need to revisit it, talk about it from a different perspective. So, title, as I said, is, let me go back, Declaring Your Nationality. Declare to be clear. Declaring your nationality means to be clear, all right? So when you hear people talking about, I was nationalized, or I can't have them be a witness, or, because they haven't nationalized. Nowhere in the prophecy statement or his written documents does he say anything about nationalizing. He's clear. Declare, to be clear. Now, Prophet Noah Ali said, if you do nothing else, declare your nationality. What this means is, if you do nothing else, be clear of where your nationality comes from and who the bloodline is, else you will void your proclamation. And this is why in the prophecies and the statement, he says, study, study, study. But if you don't study, specifically for the son, he said that the numbers are going to be drastically reduced to almost not even being in existence. And for mothers, the numbers are going to be drastically reduced. Why? Because you have not studied. You have not studied. You have not studied. And so you don't know. You do not know, and you are not clear. You're not clear where your nationality comes from and who the bloodline is. You're not clear. And in your conversation and in your written documents, you're demonstrating that you're not clear. So you become a target. And these employees of corporations will take you out. The prisons are full of people who either didn't get the information, therefore didn't study, as well as people who got the information and didn't study, as well as people who got the information and was not clear. That's it. That's all there is. There's nothing else. He said, study, 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 and if you do nothing, be clear. all about your nationality for a reason, because this is what they're going to use to take, the people out one by one across the nation. It's interesting that when I listen to Moors across the nation, and who I listen to, I talk with, and I watch certain demonstrations in the public venue where they ought not to be. We are the only people who feel the need to shout out our bloodline. Shout it out and be incorrect at the same time.
You say that again? Say that again?
We're the only group of people who feel the need to shout out as though we have Tourette's syndrome, our nationality, and be incorrect at the same time. We're the only people. You will never go to Japan and see no Japanese standing up or being attacked, talking about, I'm Japanese. I'm Japanese. I'm Japanese American. I'm Manchurian. I'm Manchurian American. You will never see that. You will never go anywhere and see any of the nationals doing things like that. You know why? Because they declared their nationality. Translation, they're clear. You go over to Japan and China, which is the same landmass, corporations, technically. The people over there, they know who their bloodline come from. They honor Mother every year in song and dance. They honor Mother every year. Let me rephrase that. They honor the Asiatic Mother every year in song and dance. Every year. Every year. They have a yearly celebration where they honor the Asiatic Mother every year. So they know. They're very clear. They have, and they do. They declare their nationality, they proclaim their nationality every year because that's in a public venue. But they declare it, and then they proclaim it, and then they're proclaiming, they demonstrate that they are clear. They know that their lineal bloodline is the Asiatic Mother, and they honor her every time. And I can tell you from my own experience with the Orientals, whenever they see an Asiatic Mother who demonstrates that she knows who she is, they bow down. Now, I'm not saying you need to bow down. I'm just saying that is their custom. Guess what? It's also our custom because that's what the hand on the heart and the slight bowing of the head is all about. That's what it's about. It's about honoring, right? But they know who Mother is. They know why they're declaring. They're very clear on the declaring of their lineal descent bloodline, and every year they proclaim it to the world in song and dance. You will never, ever see them shouting it out as though they have Tourette's syndrome, not on their landmass and not over here, because they're clear. That is what declaring your nationality is all about. Now, let me tell you what I have noticed people proclaiming on this landmass. Once you get your name correction and proclamation, you then go out and you proclaim that you are some sort of commercial entity. Once you do that, you void your name correction and proclamation. Because and at the same time, you make a public proclamation that you are not clear. And because we are not clear, we don't study, and we do not comprehend that the lineal descent bloodline is Mother, because these modern Europeans are using this to set precedents. It's not law. It's just precedence. It doesn't mean anything. But they use these and they say, look, this is the precedence. If these people come up in here talking about a captured straw man, or you charging the birth certificate, here's the paper, or if you come up in there talking about you can't touch me because I'm inside of a trust, they set precedence. The precedence says they're a corporation. They said it. We published it. There it is. Mm-hmm. They said it. We published it. There it is. Anybody else come up in here talking this mess? They just let you know they voted their name correction and proclamation. They're not clear. They didn't do any studying. They don't know that their lineal descent bloodline comes from mother, not a corporation. And let's talk about that 14th Amendment. See, because Roz and I, we were having a very, very interesting conversation before this call, before this broadcast, and she wanted me to repeat this. So while it's fresh on my brain, I'm going to repeat it.
Yes, it's beautiful.
When you
so before you repeat it, let's presage this with the fact that we are to enforce the law of this land, organic constitution. That is what we are to do. All the other stuff, it doesn't even apply. So I want to make sure because doing everything but that. So I want to presage with that. So go ahead.
Yes. So the supreme law of the land, as documented, published, proclaimed in the Moroccan Constitution of 1791, it says this is the supreme law of the land, all right? Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, study, study, study. Did anybody really study that document? And please, don't come to me with hearsay about, the Constitution was suspended. It was not suspended. You know, the only way the Constitution can be somewhat suspended is if the people don't enforce it. All right? Yes. That don't mean it's going away. It just means that the people are not enforcing it. So, the Articles 1 through 7 is the blueprint that all corporations are supposed to be established. Now, if you go back and you follow along in our readings of White Cargo. In White Cargo, these employees of various corporations who had enslaved modern Europeans, and then subsequently, their slaves over the modern Europeans to work in their companies. Their companies then, their companies today. They're not government. Stop calling them government, because government is just another word for corporation. So they brought their slaves over to work in their company, slave labor. That's where all the labor laws came from. Then they traded places. They traded the modern European slaves, and enslaved the Aboriginal indigenous people. All right, so this is in the documentations of the past. All right, so it's not just it's not any making stuff up. I'm not even, you can go and research it across the nation, you'll find it. So back in 1600s, they would run up in people's homes and they would take anything at any given time, and the people had no say, snatch them up off of the land, and so because they felt like that they could do that. Hence, the Bill of Rights come into play. The Bill of Rights, 1 through 13. Now, when we take 13, we're talking about the original 13th Bill of Rights with the 20 sections, not the stuff they have published today. Those are Bill of Rights. They're Bill of Rights because they protect the rights that the people already have. So because these people were not clear on what type of corporate activity they could do, they wrote the Fifth Bill of Rights. You can't run up in people's homes and take whatever you want to. Not going to happen. Then we have the Fifth Bill of Rights. You're not going to do anything to people without due process of law. And that means there must be a sworn complaint from the injured party. The injured party cannot be a corporation. It has to be a flesh and blood being. All right? The Bill of Rights second Bill of Rights says that you have a right to arm yourself, and it has nothing to do with you fighting in any of their wars. You have that right. Now, in Bill of Rights 1, the first Bill of Rights says that you have the right to associate with whomever you choose, and no one can force you, and it cannot be assumed. This is the first Bill of Rights, which most people don't even acknowledge. Also in the first Bill of Rights, it says that you can be a party to, you can engage in any religion you want to, and no one can say, hey, if you're not a part of this religion, then you can't work here, or you can't go here, or you can't be here. Basically, that's what Trump just did in violation of the first Bill of Rights. He's saying if you're of Muslim religion, you can't come here. That's the first Bill of Rights violation. Now, if you're looking for corporations to take that violation and run with it, forget about it. It's not their cause, and it's not something that they are supposed to be doing. That's why also embodied in the Bill of Rights, it states that you have a right to...
What he's saying, and can I just say, and whatever he's doing actually doesn't even really apply to the natural people anyway.
Exactly. Now, whenever you hear people talking about government, replace the word government with corporation, because that's what they were started as, and that's what they are today. If you go back into the 15 and 1600s and you look up the word government, governor, you will find that it's talking about corporation and the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that's about. No, there is no law that says that employees of a corporation can regulate the actions of people in a non-commercial capacity unless you walk in there and you proclaim that you are some type of corporation. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that there is no need for the 14th and the 15th Amendment. Note the change of words. After the 13th Bill of Rights, it became amendments. There is no amendment going on here. If you read the 14th Amendment, the entire 14th Amendment goes against the principles of the American Constitution of 1791 because it is alleging or attempting to raise a non-human fictitious entity, same level as a human being, and embody it with rights.
Mm-hmm.
That is not possible lawfully or in nature. And if you are vague about that, go to your Black's Law Dictionary and read the definition of person, and you will find that it states the word person as used in the 14th Amendment refers to corporation. That 14th Amendment is evidence of treason. So if I know that in the past and present and probably in the future, people will put in their documents, I am not a 14th Amendment citizen. I would never put I am not a 14th Amendment citizen in any of my documents. This is just me personally, because the 14th Amendment is talking about a corporation. And the fact that you showed up and you got blood running in your veins and you're breathing, it doesn't, it automatically is contrary to the whole premise of the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is called an amendment because it's not a Bill of Rights. That's something to ponder. This whole declaring of the nationality, it is so much deeper than you just yelling out, I'm a Moorish American national. It's so much more deeper and far-reaching than you attempting to claim a place to live and then, live in it. It's so much more than you trying to get stuff on a whole, so much more and far-reaching. And the fact that we relegate it to these minor, really minor issues when our brothers and sisters around the world encompass it on a whole speaks to the fact that we have not even begun to study. Really, we have not begun to study, because if you really had begun to study, you would understand that this is about what runs in your blood. It's in your vein. It's your lineage. And you certainly don't need a DNA test from a foreigner who ain't talking about DNA once again. He's not talking about lineage. He's not talking about nationality. These people who perform these so-called DNA tests, they're not talking about bloodline or nationality. They're talking about corporate attachment. And the fact that people are participating in that, once again, demonstrates lack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So far you said Bill of Rights 1. You're at the Bill of Rights 1, not Amendment 1. Bill of Rights 1 deals with your right to associate or contract and your religion. And 2, okay, you're on 1 right now, so you haven't gotten to 2 yet.
Well, I did 1, I did 2, I did 4, and I did 5. And then to wrap it all up, because this is what I was trying to remember. To wrap it all up, we got 9 and 10. Because our ancestors said, look, we are not going to be writing what you can and cannot do, because we'll be writing for the rest of our lives. So 9 and 10 basically says, look, if it is not in here, it's reserved to the people.
That's right.
So when they talk about it's the law for you to have a driver's license and registration, where is that in the Constitution? Now, let me tell you what's interesting. I have a brief that was written by a modern European daughter, and she brought out all of these case laws, these discussions, really, by various employees of corporations where they're looking in the Constitution for the right to travel. And I didn't even finish reading the whole thing because I realized these people are idiots. Number one, you're an employee of a corporation. That is not even in your capacity to determine. But here's the other thing. This is what was so stupid. Constitution, right? For supporting documentation on the right to travel. They're looking for it. Oh, is it here? Is it there? Is it here? Well, guess what? If it ain't in there, it's reserved for the people.
I know.
That's why it's not. I mean, it's in there. But it's in there in 9 and 10. Oh, you can't find it? Then that means it's reserved for the people.
Right. So with that being said, where they're mixing stuff up is a program that has been established for drivers, not the natural people, which are those commerce. Exactly. That you can either participate or not.
Exactly. No, well, actually, if you're functioning in a non-commercial capacity, it doesn't apply to you. Now, listen to what I'm saying, people, because I hear people, oh, I'm private, I'm public. No, it's either commerce, it's either commercial or non-commercial.
That's it.
That's it. It's either commercial or non-commercial. Were you functioning in a commercial capacity? No. Oh, then it doesn't apply.
Right.
That's it.
So then, at this point, we can say that, and we trust we clear this up here, because, yes, I've heard people say that, oh, it's public, it's private. No. So what we can say then is that people are confused or lacking of knowledge of that. And is this, why do they, this must be why they think everything they do has to be commercial. They're involving themselves in the commercial and taking their allodial liberties that are not vested in anything commercial and injecting them into commercial stuff because they don't know how to separate the two, or they don't know the difference.
You're right. That's right. And if they don't know the difference, then that demonstrates lack of study.
Mm-hmm. Because it's high on the plate right now. I mean, people have said, all right, I've got my proclamation. Either they want to stamp them, have them, quote-unquote, notarized by a corporation prior to sending them in to you, which they're going to get them sent right back, or this is the worst. They get them sealed and then talk about, well, now I'm going to go and commercialize them. We're like, what the heavens? What is going on?
Now, let me explain that. Because, see, that, what you just did is you voided the whole principles embodied in the name correction and proclamation. And what you also did is you gave them a sort of backdoor birth certificate. Because the whole process of the birth certificate is to give them the original copy of who you are. Then they will make possibly a copy of the original with their stamp and seal on it and give you back the copy. That's the birth certificate process. You just received a certificate. Because a certificate a certificate says that it's acknowledging that there is an original somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they have this document now affirms that you avoided the whole principles of the name correction and proclamation. How is it that you did that? Because you didn't study, and it's so unfortunate because you didn't even read the document. Because if you read it, studied it, and analyzed it, you would have never done that if you truly was clear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which means you didn't declare. Declaring your nationality has nothing to do with anything outside of yourself. Declaring your nationality means that I get it.
Yes.
It's an internal process. Has nothing to do with anything outside of you.
Wow.
And once you get it, now if you read the document, right, I want to make this point because there's a lot of people that's doing this. They don't know what the hell they're doing. If you read the document, in the document it states there are 5 families: Il, Bey, Day, Al, and Ali. Il Bey, a Moorish family.
What am I fighting with people?
If you had done your studying, then you would know that Il has a certain connotation and Bey has a certain connotation, or let me rephrase connotation. Il has a certain meaning and Bey has a certain meaning, all right? It is one or the other. If you are carrying 2 people around the world and on this continent, they know exactly what Il and Bey mean. They also know what Al, Day, and Ali mean. So when they say when they see you using these titles incorrectly or lacking what those titles embody, you're going to get challenged. Not only are you going to get challenged, you're going to get manhandled or mishandled. One of the things that our people, I want to say this, and then I'm going to yield the floor. One of the things is, it's very sad. Modern Europeans, they know our history. They have access to anything that is written that defines and explains and documents our history, and they read it and they study it. And guess what? They try to embody it, and they do embody it. They know our heritage better than we do. And it's a shame that our people, many of them, think that they don't. Yet they try to take on our dress. They learn our various different dialects of Latin, and they embody and practice our law. It's not our law. It's the principles and the laws of the universe, cosmology. They do not do things based on, well, this is what I feel like doing as it relates to Moorish heritage, because they know that the Moorish heritage is about law, universal law. So if you should ever, which you probably won't now, but if you should ever see the pictures of the fezzes worn in the various Masonic temples by modern Europeans, you will never, ever see anything but ill. Mm-hmm. You will never, ever see ill they, because they know.
Actually, I think one of them did have that, but it was a some special thing. I got to go check and make sure. One of them had that.
Well, I have the pictures, so I can go look, but I've never seen ill day. I've never seen day.
It doesn't matter, because what you said is absolutely correct, is that we are fundamentally the ills and the base, which is the lawmakers and the law enforcers. Now, and I'm glad you brought this up, because I just had a conversation with some brothers just last night, actually, and I explained, kind of explained it to them, like, if we have to fundamentally be ills and base, and unless North American continent, that's exactly being the center of civilization is here, quite frankly. So we have to fundamentally be ills and base first before we try to reach other degrees or try to put on titles that don't belong to that don't apply. And you can't walk first in your ill and bad, because you are the law manifested in the flesh. So you're going to be the lawmakers, what they would say, legislators. They copy everything from this spiritual, actual position that we're in, or the sciences, as you would call the universal sciences. So we are the law manifested in the flesh, lawmakers, law enforcers. That's it. And if we can't first be that, we can't talk about trying to be anything else. And as this conversation is proving, we haven't studied enough about, who we are, right? And even the document, the proclamation that was given, we haven't read that to see, what we're supposed to be standing on and proclaiming. We don't know the difference between commerce or what they call private and public. It doesn't exist. It's either commerce or natural being. That's it. So, I'm not sure where the mindset is, but one thing we know is there's not enough declaring going on, which is being clear. That we know. And, it's interesting, Anna, because now I understand why the prophet said, if you don't do nothing, anything else, but he meant be clear, because with or without papers, you got to be who you are. And the other thing is, when you said, they'll see you coming when they know you don't know. Well, the prophet also, he affirmed that as well when he said, listen, if you don't do this thing, if you don't enforce the national constitution, right, you will suffer the whatever abuses the other citizens, and other citizens are corporations, people, the other citizens care to bestow upon you. So that's prophecy right there. That's what you're really saying, And
that's right.
And this thing where you're going with the Constitution articles, 7 articles, that's what they can and cannot do in terms of corporations, 10 Bill of Rights. And he said, there's no need. Now, notice he didn't say 11, 12, or 13. He said there's no need for the 14th and 15th, and therefore anything after it for the salvation of the people. So with that being said, he already knew that as well, because like you said, 9 says, don't go searching if it ain't in here. So it's like the Constitution is the yellow line in the road. Everybody needs to stay in their lane. So they're preserving the natural rights of the people. And you just showed how it does that. One, anything
That's
you
right.
want to associate with, contract with religion, taken care of. Two, don't listen to somebody tell you, oh, you got to turn in your arms. No, that's covered in 2. It's right there. So it's all covered. So when you get to 9, it says, oh, and by the way, if it's not in this Constitution, it's reserved for the people. So then you get to 13, because he said 14. Now, here's what happened with 13. Here's where 13 is. 13, make sure you understand that you cannot be citizens of the U.S.A. Now, that's in the congressional records. That's ratified and everything. But they were doing their, what you call, coup d'etat or just switching. Therefore, everything you see in the media that they handle only shows you what? 1 and 2. But if you go to the congressional records that study what is actually ratified, you'll see all of the 22 sections. And
if people are really, if for all those industrious and studious Moors out there, the original 13th Amendment with the 20 sections, it is on the RVBey Publications website. You would do well. All Moors would do well not to just study the original 13th Bill of Rights, but all 10, because the Bill of Rights protects the people who are not engaging in a commercial capacity. The 1 through 7 articles is for the structure of any corporation on this American soil. That is it. That's it. And you know what? The discussion when you study the Moroccan American Constitution, and the reason I say Moroccan American is because that Constitution was adopted. They tell you it was adopted. Who was it adopted from? It was adopted from the Moors, who were branded Indians. It comes from the Iroquois Confederation, and I believe in 1980 they put in a House resolution to thank the Iroquois Confederation, which is the Moors, for providing them with the Constitution that they adopted and utilized today. So for Moors who are wondering where our Constitution is and where our laws is, know that the Constitution for the United States of America is the Moroccan American Constitution of 1791, because this America, the word America, is a derivative of the word Moroccan or Morocco. So Morocco, if you do your studies, Morocco and American, or America, Morocco and America, they are synonymous. So here's another thing. When these people run around and they're saying the Americans, because I was looking for this for a long, long time. It was like a conundrum going on in my head. What were the people of this land called if they were not called Americans? Well, guess where that answer is? In the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Now, what they call themselves Americans because they take from the United States of America, say United States of, they just say America. They just take the America, and so they call themselves Americans. Just like if you live in the municipal, if you allege to live within the territory of New York, they call you New Yorkers. If you live in the sales territory, or if you state that you live within the boundaries of the Virginia Corporation, you're called Virginians. If you are in any of the Carolinas, you're Carolinians. This is so, all right, so we were not called Moors. You know why? Because we were not called Americans because American is a derivative of Moroccan, and the Moroccans were called Moors. That is right in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787. There you have it, the distinction. Just because somebody is called American doesn't mean that their bloodline, lineal descent is of the Americans, because the true Americans were called Moors.
How about that?
And this is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, you are Moroccans born in America. If you studied that, he was basically saying you're Moroccans born in Morocco.
Yep.
I mean, it's a loop. If you really study, it's a loop.
Sure is.
So if you study, you better put yourself within the loop. And you can only do that if you're declared, which means you're clear. But if you are not declared, which means you're not clear, you will go and proclaim something else. Today, they call that precedence.
Yep.
And then they're publishing it. Like, we didn't tell him. We didn't put this in his mouth. He came out and said it. So he said it. We published it. There it is.
Really, it's just kind of amazing how we don't get now. The other thing is in terms of knowing what the bloodline is, and therefore understanding nationality. There was a turn to confuse the issues, and the distinguishment. We may say matriarch, patriarch, but nature is a matriarch, and we are, and women are definitely matriarchs who bring in light. And so what they do is, because if you don't have that understanding that that's where your nationality comes from, then you can't claim inheritance, and a lot of that is happening, and it's confusing issues quite a bit, or it is a confusing issue, or has been a confusing issue when it doesn't have to be, because it's very clear that, where you come from and that nationality is a bloodline, and that when they're trying to, when people don't have that straight, they are absolutely going out on a crooked arrow, and they're getting really messed with badly. Like right now, I also noticed that, and I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, I briefed this with you a few days ago, how they're giving people these fake charging documents, and they literally are talking from a stanza or a phrasing of law, even though they're colored. They're doing it to confuse you. The problem that the people, like they'll say, comes now, patrolman so-and-so. They're really trying to make a mockery out of the fact that they're using lawful phrasings that you ought to be using, and they're doing it to seriously confuse you because they're still working in color. And what they're writing, you don't recognize because you're not dealing with and speaking from or walking in law. But claiming that you are Moor and you don't know law is a serious, serious mistake. So they're using it and making fun of the people, and it's intimidating only because if you don't know law, you can't even recognize that. It sounds like something so involved. You'd rather go to just using commercial processes, which is what they want to run you to anyway, because that way you're not claiming your birthright, your liberty, or anything that would knock them completely out of the box. Instead, you run it into and becoming a party of their stuff, and they got you. So in some ways, when you come talking commerce, they'll try to pretend to talk. They'll talk pretend law. If you come talking law, they'll deal with pretend commerce. They mix it together because you don't even know which is what and what is what in the first place, which is why.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Having a field day on the E with them. Field day.
They are. And see, here's the sad thing is, they can just ask one, because it's not just about knowing the law. You know, the prophet said, draw a circle around your passion, square up your conduct. Every time I get a call or every time I see something in the public arena, it demonstrates no one has drawn a circle around their passions or squared up their conduct.
Mm-hmm.
No one. And see, here's the thing. I mean, it's just so many tentacles that come off of study, study, study. He tells you study, study, study. Why? Because if you don't get a hold of yourself, which is what draw a circle around your passion, square up your conduct means, you're going to be running on ego. Ego is so easy to trip up. So easy. And we ain't even got to talk about the law. But that is the law, isn't it? That is the law. Everything is the law. You know, many people, they look at cosmology and they don't look at it from the perspective of, I want to know myself better. I want to know my weaknesses. I want to know my strength. My strength is good. Now, if ego is in charge, you're going to look at your strength and you're going to get beside yourself. Oh, I'm going to be rich. Oh, I can talk well. Oh, I'm brilliant. Oh, I got genius capacity. The key to the cosmology is to focus on the weaknesses because that's what you're here to correct. Get your weaknesses. Many people have a problem talking. Figure out why you have a problem talking and fix it, because you ain't going to be able to defend your position if you don't know how to talk. And this is why I feel a lot of people are chasing down these processes, because you don't want to talk, because you're insecure about talking. Let me just tell you this, that you will be able to come up with some sort of a paper or some kind of process that you put forth that, you know, somebody somewhere will be able to access and never bother you ever again. Forget about it. That's not where we are. That might be in the future, like, and I don't know how far into the future, but that, let me tell you when that's going to happen. That will happen when many of the numbers on planet Earth are gone for one reason or another. It's just not going to be enough and get away with it. That's not today. And it's not like tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. All right? That means until that shows up, you better be studying, you better be analyzing, you better be looking within yourself, and you better be preparing. Nobody is here to save anyone outside of themselves. That is not the nature of incarnation. So if you think you're the light of the world, or if you think you're the savior of the world, you got some people who think that they come to wake up, they homeboy, forget about mother, because, you know, they have some confusion about true biology. So they hear, oh, waking up, they homeboys, forget about mother. Forget that I come from mother. If you're forgetting about mother, then you just voided your name correction and proclamation.
And that is because why?
Because that's what this is all about. This is about lineal descent, bloodline. And if you can't draw a circle around your passion and square up your conduct about true biology, then I guess you're going to have to write out this lesson.
Yeah.
You're going to have to write it out, and it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Mhm.
because this
Mhm.
this 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 is very deep and far-reaching. It goes way into the past, present, and the future because there is no past, present, or future. Everything is a manifestation of now. And whatever you do now, it's going to rectify the past and create the future, which is the now.
Wow. That's
And
true.
that's deep. And you
Mhm.
can't get that just from reading a book. And you can't get that from just watching a DVD. And let me tell you, you ain't going to get that from attending lecture after lecture after lecture, especially, my dear, when you're not taking notes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a social thing, but there's no notes. You know, like
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get a copy of the DVD. You must take notes. Notes will sharpen you.
Yes, yes. That's the thing to say. If you read, somebody telling you something is one thing, but until you, really read it for yourself, I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
You can talk and say something,
and I've experienced it.
Yes, it's
I've
very
experienced it. I remember. I wanted to tell this little quick story. I remember back in my Amway day, I went to a function. This Asiatic brother, he came up, he was talking. He said, y'all want to know the secret? Everybody said, yes. He said, all right, I'm going to tell you the secret. I pulled out my pad and my pen because I'm going to tell the secret. And he started talking, and I started jotting down, things that he was saying. He went through a list of maybe a half a dozen to a dozen, and I wrote them down. And every time he said something, I wrote it down. And as I was writing it down, my mind said, that's not it. Let me write down the next one. Wrote down the next one. That's not it. Wrote down the next. He said another one. I wrote it down in my mind as I'm writing it down. I said, that's not the secret. That's not. He must be coming to the secret, but I'm going to keep on writing because he's coming to the secret. I'm going to write it down. And I wrote down everything, and then he said, all right, good night, folks. And I was like, he didn't tell the secret. I was mad.
Mm-hmm.
I folded up my notebook, put it in my purse, and went to my room and was sitting there fuming. So I took out my notepad and started reading it. And as I read it, I realized he told the secret. And at the same time, I said, thank God I wrote it down. Because if I didn't, I would not have gotten it. I would not have remembered it. I'm so glad I wrote it down because I got the secret. But while I was writing it down, I didn't get it. I was mad. Like, he messing with us. He ain't telling us the secret. Playing. Don't we hear this today? Don't we hear this today, Roz?
Yes.
People will call in and they'll say, that NE, the Roz, and then they always talking, but they don't never tell people the ins and the outs. They don't never tell people the secrets. They don't give us the, they hold it back. Maybe you should take out pen and paper and write down what you heard.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's secret the pen and paper. You're right. Because, and you know, when you don't, and this is what's interesting, and the same thing with reading something, if you don't highlight or if you don't take a note on what you heard that intrigued you, it's gone. And then you're like, oh, shoot, you don't have it. So you have to take notes or you have to highlight when you read or whatever so you can go back to it. It's like.
That's right.
Like, yes, you do. You do. Like I read the Book of Thomas a long time ago, but I also read the other books that was in it because it's Book of Thomas, Gospel of Thomas, Book of James, Gospel of James, and I put highlights in it. This is before I was, wherever I am today. This was a while ago, and
I did the same thing.
All the things that seem to stick to my soul, right? So what I would love is to be able to go back to that same highlight and see what appealed to my soul then and why, and how am I dealing, how has that evolved now. But unfortunately, I let somebody borrow the book, and I'll never get it back because they, it got lost in the sauce, and I will never know what it was that appealed to my soul at the time, so I could see my own development and growth as to, where what appealed to me then and where I am now with that, So it's people always say, where do I start? Where do I start? And what we're offering today is, or what we're seeing today, remember I said to you on the phone, I said, we need to tell people they need to start with the Constitution and have full understanding. However, they need to know that the Constitution and the distinction that you must make, what we just showed you today, is the distinction of the organic Constitution, not where they have amended and put amendments, because those 1 through 10 are called, as you said, they are not called amendments. However, I had mentioned before that during the time in the drafting of them, they had the 7 articles, and then they added the Bill of Rights. So at that moment, space and time, you could consider them as some amendment to the not yet ratified finished document. But aside from that, they're not amendments at all. They are ratified as Bill of Rights dealing with the natural people. What they do today is they've added amendments after 13. They added amendments, and there's your sign. There's your code right there. And then they'll call the first 10 amendments. They did that so it could look like to the unknowledgeable people that all of these are amendments and can be amended, etc. But now you got to go into how things are turned into any rights or law or whatever. But with the Constitution, you don't really have to do that. Why? Because it's a written document. As such, it cannot be altered. And that's it. That's the actual Supreme case law on that. So you have to make the distinction between the organic Constitution and this other thing they got going on that they're calling the quote the Constitution, that amendments that, for instance, the 14th isn't even ratified, and even if it were, it's for corporation. It has nothing to do with you, the natural people. So that's why the prophet said there is no need. This is why he said it. Like you said, you go back to the loop and you go back full circle, provided you study. He said there's no need for the 14th and 15th Amendment for the salvation of the people and the citizens. Okay, he said it. That's why, because he already knew. So now when you go into these places that are supposed to be upholding the prophet's works, and words, and they are, rah with that, and they're sitting there talking about be a citizen of the U.S.A. They didn't pay any attention to what he said. That is so clear, so very, very, very clear, So it's where to start. Start there. How about start there? Because why? Because when you do, you might be able to recognize when something of your rights or liberties have been violated. Without, how could you possibly? Remember we talked about this, Annie earlier. How could you possibly know when anything has been violated as it pertains to your liberties and rights if you don't even know what they are? And that's why they keep walking all over.
That's right.
That don't even it doesn't. So the other thing is, prophet said this will be a breakfast fight. That's as soon as you're able to come to the breakfast table. And you're not coming to this breakfast table and the victory assured in it because it's already done. It really is already done. Like people are, people are looking for something to be done, something to happen. It's already done. You just haven't walked into it yet.
Yeah, that's right.
It really is. Right?
That's right.
So it'll happen when the people wake up. That's when it'll happen. That's why you need to teach and give it to your children at all costs. Because as you said,
for the young and the yet unborn.
Absolutely. And they're ready. It's just that you got other people out there reading. Here's the thing. You got other people out there redirecting them into thinking that your liberties and your rights are vested somehow in commercial processes, and they're not. And you know what? I find that it's these people who think that they went to colleges, these programs, they went to, and the prophet said what he said in Religious Controversy. He said the person who went to college is a fool right on. The longer they stay in those institutions of learning, the higher they will jump to defend it. And I see it every day. What do I mean by that? I mean that the people who you and I know today that went to colleges didn't learn anything about their own rights, didn't learn the truth about history and none of that. These people are the ones that think they're so smart that they are going to figure this thing out right into the commercial processes thing because they're just smart. They can handle it. They can figure it out. That's what he's talking about because they don't know about their own liberties and rights. Now, the problem with that is this is where the ego goes in and the inability to self-humility. And I tell you, if you don't have the ability to self-humility and your ego stays high, what happens is because they don't have that ability, they continue on with what they're doing. They refuse to accept the light of truth. And so what happens to them and what is happening to them right now while we speak is the universe is putting them on their ass behind it. And they still don't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because, and you know what? You know what's interesting, and you know, I want to try and bring this out in a future broadcast. People, be very clear with yourself, clear and honest. I know I am. I can reflect on all that I have learned. Let me think. In every institution, whether it be elementary, so-called elementary, because I ain't learned nothing about the elements, middle school, the high school, college, everything, every single thing that people are taught, it is all, you know, and what they implement as their career, it is all about using the people as resources, consumers to take advantage of. You have no business. That's everything. If you're a nurse, you're killing people and you're getting paid to do it. If you're a so-called doctor, which means you're just practicing physician, high priestess, you're killing people and you're getting paid to do it. If you're an attorney, you're practicing corporate policies and procedures that are designed to take advantage of the people outside of a commercial process. That's
wow.
All right. If you're engaging in some kind of insurance, if you might be an insurance agent, you might be a claims processor, or you might work on a different level. Your job is to trick people into buying an insurance policy, and the bet is that they will never use it. That's called legal gambling, and your target market is people. Almost every corporation on this landmass, none of them came here. None of them came here with any resources. So everything that they're doing is based on displacing people, taking advantage of people. If you want a home to live in, you got to go and deal with municipal employees. And through the municipal employees, that you talk with a so-called real estate agent. When with the word real estate, if you go back to the 1600s, real estate was referring to flesh and blood beings, slaves. That was the real estate. Today, real estate is still talking about the flesh and blood being. It's the person that's unenlightened enough to enter into a mortgage agreement where you're bartering for something. But the something that you're bartering for, you think you're bartering for a home. The municipal corporation have you bartering for a piece of land that you are supposed to grow tobacco on because that's what it was taken as back in the 1600s. And from your profit from growing tobacco, you were supposed to give back to the municipal corporation a percentage of your profits. That's what the mortgage is based on then and today. So most people think that they're entering into a mortgage for a place to live, when the whole premise of the mortgage is to get the land, grow something on it, exchange it, and give proceeds to the municipal corporation. That was the whole premise then. It's the same premise today. So now we look at people who are,
Wouldn't that be sharecropping?
It's not.
A form of it?
It's not. It's not sharecropping, because sharecropping, that's supposed to be some sort of a business agreement, something on there. But what's on there is a house.
I see.
So if a house is on there,
right? Yeah.
It's not a form of sharecropping because it's from a commercial perspective.
Okay. All right.
That's part of how they came over here in the agreement. But the agreement was never to impose that on people in a non-commercial capacity.
Okay.
But that's what they're doing.
So can you explain then? I remember we talked about how, in just as a little hint, in that mortgage, how they changed, they named the person who's actually thinking, as you said, they're buying something, a home. They call them right in the first or second paragraph. They change it from a mortgagee
to a
tenant.
They're a tenant. Now, the reason you're a tenant and will always be a tenant is because the mortgage is based on the charter. The charter was never giving the land to anyone. The charter was giving you the authority to engage in commerce. And that takes us back to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So all charters come out of the agreement between the Moors and Great Britain to come over here and set up their business. That's like, Toyota. Toyota is a company, an Oriental company. They came over here, they set up shop, and they produce a product. Now, those products used to be produced over in Japan and then shipped over here. But here's the thing. Just because they have a Toyota facility on this landmass, it doesn't mean that they own the landmass.
It's use. The word is use.
They just have the use of the landmass. And that is what they're selling people today without telling them. And there's nothing in their charter that allows them to sell the land to the people for living, only for engaging in commerce, because that's why they came over here. So what does that make the real estate agent? An enslaver of people. What does that make the mortgage company? An enslaver of people. What doesn't that make the industry? An enslaver of people. So when you look, if people were really honest with themselves and look at what they do for a living, they will find that they participate in the enslavement of their own brothers and sisters and people on a whole. So we're all participating in one capacity or another. It's to varying degrees. So, and I'm not saying that for people to tomorrow go and quit their jobs or, just recognize and, maybe look at some alternatives, because we're supposed to be uplifting fallen humanity, which means really we're supposed to be uplifting mother, because humanity comes out of mother. all beings is ovary of a woman somewhere. So we have to uplift Mother if we are to uplift forming humanity, because everything comes out of her mind. And,
wow.
And then, right. So if we help her to wake up, and she will once again build. She will once again be the grand architect. I mean, she's still the grand architect, but what is she building? What's coming out of her? Is it beings that we once used to be?
Yeah, it's the temples of the man, of the spirit of man manifested in the flesh, departing, being formed in the flesh on a holy day, Friday, departing from the flesh, which is her flesh, on a holy day, Friday, which is Venus, which is Mother. And she's building the soul of man's temple, because we are spirit man, we know that, and we are man is mind. But as you said, during the time in which you are in the womb being built, that's the first schoolroom. So therefore, it's about where she is, what she does, what she eats, what she smells, what she experiences during that time that affects the building of Solomon's temple or the soul of man's temple. They'll build some structure, some architectural structure, which is a symbology of that, and that's what's up. So now your bloodline comes from her.
That's right.
Because when the sperm hits the egg, there's no blood being transferred, so we just easily kill that noise about where bloodline comes from. All right, so if you accept that as truth, because it is, then you are well on your way to understanding that your inheritance is
That's right.
Your body.
But also we want to also look at the body that she's creating.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, because I'm seeing it. The mothers today, what they're building is defective. They're coming here defective. Now, of course, this is also a lesson for that being that's coming here. But Mother is not in her mind. The mental capacity of the being is not going to be there. If Mother's body has not been prepared for bringing forth the life, which means, it's not necessarily about her eating the right nutrients, but if your body is vibrating at a certain level, you're not going to be able to consume certain things because it will have a negative effect on you. Meaning it will make you sick, it will break you down. So if Mother is in her right mind, then she's consuming things that's going to help increase her vibratory level. And if her vibratory level is higher, she's going to bring forth, she's going to build a higher vibratory being that's not going to be defective. And that's not happening. And we have to get this at all costs. The one that is being attacked is Mother. She's being attacked by foreigners. She's being attacked by her son. And she's also being attacked, unfortunately, by her sisters, because that's the way you set it up. She's the one that's under attack. So when we look at these young girls today walking down the street and they're pregnant or they're pushing a carriage, that is what we have manifested because of lack of information, because we have not addressed the issue at hand. And the issue at hand is to uplift fallen humanity, and fallen humanity is Mother, because in her womb is humanity. Right on the front of the 101, it's on her womb is written humanity. So in her womb is humanity. So if we don't uplift Mother, then we don't uplift foreign humanity.
Hey now. So, wow. That's just the way it is. Because she is the what? She is
Mother.
The fall of the great angel is who? Her.
Mother. And that is what declaring your nationality is all about. You better be clear, because if you're not, modern Europeans have no problem standing back and allowing you to publicly make a proclamation that voids the name correction and proclamation. And then they will publish it as precedents.
And they have done that, as well as people coming in.
That's what they're doing.
Yes.
Girl, that's what they're doing. And be clear. And then you got people running around here saying, yo, I need to publish my name correction and proclamation. Did you go into one of these tribunals? Yeah, and I told them who I was. Oh, that's what you told them? Well, you just published your proclamation. You publicly canceled it. You publicly canceled it. And they published it as precedents.
Wow, wait a minute. Let's back up a second here. Hold it. This is a heavy. So, you're saying if one has done their name correction and judicial notice and proclamation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying that, well, whether they, wait a minute. Yeah, say that again. How did they dispute that from what you just said by going into the tribunal?
Okay, what they did was they go into these venues, and they make a public proclamation, because they're leaning on a commercial 14th Amendment process. The minute you do that, you void the name correction and proclamation, and they're going to accommodate you. They're going to allow you to speak, and they're going to publish exactly what you said and call it precedence. You have just proclaimed your nationality. You're a corporation.
Because you're saying that even to go there to look for them to file, record, or
that's right.
authenticate, that is what you're doing, and that's what they're doing.
That's correct.
They're saying,
that's correct.
You don't know this is law.
The prophet said there is no need for the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of my people. All right, so why are you going to corporations? Why are you looking to corporations to acknowledge you? Why are you going into these corporate venues and using commercial processes, and at the same time you're sending your name correction or proclamation, and then you're wondering why they're ignoring you? Well, first of all, you just can't void it. Well, secondly, you just voided it. First, you didn't really dispute their claim. So, and then you made a public proclamation that canceled and voids out the whole principles of the name correction and proclamation. And Lord help us if you altered it. Got one of those too.
So let's be specific then, so that people understand. When you take that in and you expect for them to authenticate it in any way, to record, file, whatever, and you don't know that only that is a lawful notice.
That's right.
And you take it there, then they are happy to do that, and then you just void it yourself. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Yes.
And they know when you haven't studied, because nowadays I just got something, I don't remember, I think it was an email. I got an email from somebody saying, oh, well, I submitted the proclamation and they said, oh, we only take things that's a year old. That's corporate policy. That has nothing to do. So that means, okay, not that it's right, but okay, so let's look at the birth certificate. If you showed up with the birth certificate that was completed at your birth, are they telling you to go and get a new birth certificate within a 1-year calendar year.
I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's laughable. I want to be clear. I'm glad you brought this up, and I just want to be clear and make sure the people listening are very clear. This is because I forgot about this. Is something that was happening. They're now saying to these stupid Moors, and I'm not calling them
not
stupid.
studying. They're not studying. Because if you were studying, you wouldn't have fallen for that.
But they fall for it because in the document itself, does it not say nunc pro tunc? Yes, it does. Meaning now for then. So you know what? We don't even need a date on it. How about that? Because nunc pro tunc takes care of that. Once you realize who you are and you make that clear, you know that it's nunc pro tunc. You know that it's now for then. You know that you are who you are, and the prophet said it too. He said no one can change your descent nature. So this is all about you finding out what your descent nature is. Therefore, it can't be changed, nor can they put a date on it. So what they're doing is saying, oh, you're bringing the proclamation. It's dated in 2016 or whatever. Sorry, go get another one. And you're falling for that because you ought not be bringing it first place, and they know that. So now they did figure out another way. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That was one of the other things that came up. And back to you, you're saying if you had studied, you wouldn't have fell for that in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And why is it though, Sister Annie, that they feel that they have to get the okay and permission from these people for everything that they do? Why?
I think it's lack of study.
Lack of study.
Mm-hmm.
That's also huh?
Lack of study.
You're muted. Can't you seem muted? Your mic must be hidden.
Hold on a minute. Yeah, it is. Hold on.
I have all your moves. Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Yeah, that demonstrates lack of study, because if they can get away with that, if they say that, and you don't know what the comeback is, first of all, you shouldn't be there to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Look around you. You don't see no Orientals going up in there. None of the Aboriginal indigenous people around the world you will find in that venue doing that. Some of them nowadays, you know what? Some of them might work there, and not even then. I don't think I've ever seen an Oriental working in a municipal corporation.
Unless they turned into got corporatized, and then usually
unless they've been unless they've been born over here and mentally indoctrinated.
Right.
Then you'll see them.
Because it's the mental training that we have, that we believe that these people are the authority and government over us, because we don't know any different. And that's why they're looking to have it accepted. And then they also, I think that's why they drag in the birth certificate, because they don't realize that birth certificate is the proof of human trafficking, and that is not a contract. And the only reason they don't know is because they don't know contract law. So, so it's the lack of knowledge, which is where the problem comes in at.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of study, lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge, lack of study. They go hand in hand. All right, so let's see. It is 2:45. I'm going to turn the controls over to you, and we might want to take some calls now.
Wow. Time flies when you're having some fun, huh?
Having fun.
Yes. If there's, I do see your hand up. So if anybody has a question or comment, press 1 on your dial, and we'll start taking the calls. We'll start with this one, which is 973280. You are live on the air.
It's Islam. Sister Ron, Sister Anaida. Oh, my goodness. I tell you, everything. Carol Bay, obviously, Northwestern Maxim. Peace and love to you both. And everything you talked about today just resonated so deep. And I have no question. I'm just making a comment because the class was excellent. And as you both said, especially Sister Anna Eid, the studying. Man, when you study, you will come to terms with the truth. You will come to terms with understanding the law, and you will see things so much differently. And as Noble Durali said, we must study ourselves and know ourselves, our higher self and our lower self, and all the temptation and madness that's around us. It's just every day trying to knock you off your square. You know, instead of trying to, people, it seems, instead of them trying to raise up, the ones I'm dealing with right now, is that they're trying to pull me back down to their level, and I refuse. So all I can do is just show them by example. And they know I've been kind of offish, and because I've been studying, doing a lot of reading, and I love the circle of readers. Thank you so much for that. And all I can do is just be strong. So everything you said today was right on point. And it just resonated with everything that I've come to understand since I came into this information. You know, and we must learn to love ourselves, because if you don't love yourself, you truly can't love anyone else. So it was a great class, and I loved it. And it was good hearing from both of you. Peace and love.
Well, we love hearing from you as well, sis. Thank you. Thank you so much for your comment. Islam. All right. We have a couple more callers. Let's see. 85. Hold on a moment, 85. You're not on yet. 856-230. You're live on the air.
Peace and love, family. This is Sister Lynn. Good to
Sorry,
hear.
can't hear you. Speak up louder.
Peace and love. This is Lynn. Calling into the show with the peace.
All right.
Well with her.
All right.
Good. And good to hear from you, Sister Love. Well, it is a good show. I have a question. A situation where a son has taken home and locked the mother and child out, the mother and the children out. There is no, legal ties or, leases or anything between them. What could be done?
You said there's no what between them?
Agreement, money's paid to them, because I do understand that the son in the home would be in a capacity, just there to protect and to help provide.
All right, wait.
For the kids.
You need. You're breaking up a little bit. Can you get into a area or direct your phone where you're not breaking up, and repeat that again? I just want to be clear what you're saying. You said the son has locked the mother out of the house, but he and the children are in the house?
No, the children and the mother are locked out.
Oh, well, then I guess he has an intent to have a house and doesn't care about the mother or the children if he locks out the mother and the children. So, I mean, that's first and foremost obviously clear. So now from there, what was the other question? Whose house is it?
Well, I'm speaking of myself. I'm speaking in third party, but it's my situation now. And so that's what I'm trying to help get assistance with.
Using it as a scenario in that case.
Right.
But I want to be clear that you're saying that the father has locked the mother and the children out of the house.
Right.
Right? And basically kicked them out. Right?
Pretty much without lawful right to do that.
Well, see, you are the law manifested in the flesh. So the thing is, it's clearly that the intent of this brother who's locked out the mother and the children is to lock out the mother and the children. That's clear. I mean, that's the intent. That's why they did it, because that's what they wanted to do. Obviously, we're in a position to do so. I'm not saying it's right because it's not, but it's not to be at all, like, oh, wow, that was this person's intent. There's not much about the mother or the children if they, in fact, lock the mother and the children out of the house. In a simplistic manner, that's obvious. Now, as far as anything else that goes with that or whatever like that, who knows? We don't know what the reason was. I don't know that it even matters because we operate by intent, and intent in your thoughts. And so thoughts are seeds that are planted, and then they grow. So if you are growing something, as an example, I'm going to give an analogy, and you're watching it grow and it's growing well, then it's growing well. But if you're watching it grow and it has some retardation or something's not growing right, and if you don't correct that so that it can grow right, then you're going to have a messed up thing. Okay? All right? So I say that to say that, was there anyone nurturing and taking care of the seed that was planted, and in this case, the thought that is the seed that was planted as they watched it unfold? You know what I'm saying? I'm asking that question. If you watch something unfold that's growing, which is the intent, which is the seed, which is the thought, and it was never corrected or given enough water or put in the sun where it needed to be or change the soil as it did, or whatever it was to correct the insufficiency of the growth of that intent, then you're going to get what you get because it was not attended to. As we make an analogy towards growing something as a seed and a thought. So now with that, without saying anything else, no one knows anything else. So, as far as what to do lawfully, I don't know what has been done. I gave the analogy of what has been done.
But there should never be a situation where a situation gets to a point where a son or assumes the authority and he can even let out something like that.
No, there ought, because everything comes from ought, if you read the 101. There ought never be that. However, it is. And it was. You know what I'm saying? It is and it was and it will be because it is what it is. Identifying what it is and correcting the growth of that particular seed that was planted so that it can, it's like, so it can grow healthy or not is the key. So you can say, well, that ought not happen, but no, it ought not, but everything comes out of ought, so therefore it did, because everything comes out of the seed or the thought that was planted, which is the intent. And so,
well, let me just interject here, all right, because I want it to be clear, because we're using this word seed that many people are absolutely confused about. So, when we're talking, let's be clear. When we're talking now, mother has the capacity. She's the only one that has that capacity. Everything else after that, the child is going to pick up. I don't think we're talking about a child here. I think we're talking about a situation. So now, what you have to do, and a lot of ones have this challenge, when you get this information, you already had situations that needed to be addressed. For example, these non-Europeans already know that the majority of sons got an issue with child support, and it's based on false biology. But if you don't stand up and say, hell, that's mine right there, you're going to pay for it. Creating anything new ought to be addressed. So I don't know where you are in your situation, but I can bet that it probably wasn't addressed ever prior to, getting into this whole Moorish paradigm and nationality and birthright. I'm pretty sure it wasn't corrected. So now you have two issues. You have stuff out there that was never addressed, and you got some new stuff. You better be studying like a mad person, and you better be putting in some disclaimers, some written disclaiming some stuff, correcting some stuff, and you ain't going to be able to do that unless you study exactly what you got sitting in your lap. If you flying by the seat of your pants, I guess that whatever happens is your lesson. It doesn't matter whether you're flying by the seat of your pants or if you're studying. It's all your lesson. And within every lesson is the answer. You really and truly are looking for the answer, then you will find it. Because we know in the principles and the writings of our ancestors, there's a saying that says, ask and it will be given unto you. So if you're looking for the answer was probably in front of you all along. Now, this is not blame or anything. It's just the reality of the situation. Whether you wanted to, take or leave it on the table is irrelevant. The fact that you're calling and you're asking for the answer, when I am positive you already got it, says to me that you haven't really looked at the answer, or maybe you don't like the answer, so you're looking for a different answer. The answer is the answer. You got to do with it what you will. But I know that the universe never gives you a problem, doesn't have an answer.
Oh, my goodness. It's called resolution. It's called resolution. That's what you're
the principles of the universe. That's cosmology. That's everything. It's everything. You already got the answer. Maybe you didn't like the answer. Maybe you ain't ready to do something with the answer. I don't know. It's not my issue. And it's not that I don't care, but this is your lesson. It's not mine. It's your lesson. And I don't know what your lesson is. And I'm not, and it's not that it's a bad lesson, a good lesson, a right lesson, or a wrong lesson. It is just your lesson.
It's a lesson, yes.
That's it.
Yes, but we're here to assist one another, brothers and sisters.
But
sure, but you can't.
I'm pretty look on the RVBey Publications website is years of assistance documented. Years before the website was even up and running, there was years of assistance. They have this term, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to.
That the universe has led you to the water on numerous occasions, but you just wasn't thirsty enough.
And it seems cold, but it's not, because what you just said as far as assistance, always have assistance. You always have it. And people are always willing. But I think the key here is, here's the answer that you asked that only that is limited as far as what others can give and can do. It is up to you to effectuate, like you said, that's the answer. It has been given. It's just that I think, as Anna E. said, sometimes people don't like the answer. Or when you talk about the horse to water, but you cannot make him drink because the horse is not thirsty enough yet for whatever reason. Now, right there is no assistance. No one can assist in that because the horse, if he's not thirsty enough, they won't drink. So a person sometimes won't drink that they've been brought to as the answer until they are thirsty enough. Now, they are thirsty enough. What does that mean? Nobody can determine that except for you or the person themselves, because only they know how thirsty they are and how willing they are and how desperate or in need, or they may make themselves get to a point where they're following out this thing that was growing all the way to the end. You know what I mean? Because they weren't thirsty enough yet. Right. And so therefore they chose in their will to follow out what apparently seems to be someone else's will, maybe not, because it can't be. It has to be your own, because the person wanted it to happen. They allowed it to happen. They let it happen.
That's what it is. So often we have to recognize, look, we have been mentally conditioned to believe. This is our mental part of our mental enslavement. Looking for someone else to handle our affairs. We've been mentally conditioned to do that. So the prophet said, look, I come take you out of your mental enslavement. All right? So then automatically we ought to know that, look, he's taken us from this. And anyone or anything that has been set up to perpetuate that is a direct contradiction to brought, which was to take you out of your mental enslavement, which means what? Being competent to handle your own affairs. Now, if you show up and you say, look, we're supposed to help one another. Well, no. When we say we're supposed to help one another, the only thing somebody can do is support you, meaning get some information, read it, or encourage you. Because many times you're going to be on this path and you're going to get discouraged. This is when you need your family to encourage you. I know it's hard. Don't give up. Everything you're doing is in accordance with law. You will prevail. It's already been written. And if we look in the past, we see numerous documentations of if you stay on the path, the road will be made clear. So that's what we're supposed to be doing. There's nothing in this that says, girlfriend or boyfriend, go sit down. I'm going to write this writ for you. I'm going to take it to the building. I'm going to argue your claim, and I'm going to bring you your reward. You already got that.
Okay, hold on a moment.
You already got that, but you're not receiving the reward. You're being taken advantage of because your affairs are being handled by crooks and criminals. And you don't even know it.
Now,
because you didn't study, you don't even see, somebody, and here's another form of assistance. You can write up your brief, and someone can look it over for you and maybe interject some fine points. But you have to first write it. That's where that poem, Footprints in the Sand, people misinterpret that. They be like, oh, I was walking and there was 2 footprints, and then when the load got heavy, Jesus carried me. You know what everybody misses? You have to first walk.
Right. But let's say this too. Let's
demonstrate a take. You have to take it. You have to take it there yourself, and then you got assistance. But notice, he wasn't carrying you from beginning to end. You had to first walk, which means in this, what the prophet brought us, you have to first study. Is our good advice? I think the caller hung up.
I think they dropped. No, I think they dropped. But I got another 8. I got another 856. 6, and I didn't pay attention as to whether that was their number, but so I'm going to go back on that and see, because they may have called back in. However, I do want to say this from another perspective of the actual physical manifestation of being thrown out of the house and locked out of the house by a son who locks out a mother and 2 children. Do not get me wrong, and I know I'm speaking for some sons too. They will come there and they will be ready to, put that brother in his place as far as question was outside of going to the municipality. However, now the question becomes, how many times has that happened? And then you try to work your relationship out, because this is what happens. And then people say, I'm not going to get back in between that, because the brother needs to be straightened out as to his duties to a mother and child. And clearly that doesn't exist, because that ought never happen. However, it did. So, there could be some sons that would say, I'm going to come and, take care of him, or, talk with him, or whatever. We'll just say talk with him, whatever that means. But then if it's accepted to, if they don't hear that talk or interested in it, then now asking about the municipality, now the question has to get into, the sequence of events. So now we get into the personal thing, which we're not going to, have necessarily have to do over this line. Have the municipalities been called? And if they have been called, I'm not saying this is what's happening with this sister. I'm just saying, let's put it out here. Have they been called in the past? And if they have, is the person who has this bad intent or setting it up so that even if the sister did call the municipalities, which we don't suggest, but if it has been done before, they have set up a scenario, because as you said, Anna E., you got to stand on your square, sister, mother. You know what I mean? And make it real clear. And if they've been called before and the acquiesce came, and now let's say even if she wanted to call them right now, they already got her set up as something being wrong with her, because this is what they do. I don't know if this is her case, but this is what they do. Okay? They have it set up, and she'll be the one toted away, and then they'll have her children because
and you know what?
That. Yeah.
And you know what? I want to interject and say something about that, because our people, we contradict our position all the time. The minute you pick up your phone and you call Roman soldiers / police / foreigner / employees of a municipal corporation, you have just voided your name correction and proclamation. The whole premise, the name correction and proclamation was just voided. And it's interesting because I was watching this documentary this past week about a very prominent religious group, a religious group of people. And, one of their tenets in their religious law is you never call the police on one of your brethren. And this woman had called the police on her husband, and she said she just broke a religious law when she called the police. I was like, wow, look at that. And our people don't get it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, yo, I called the police. I'm like, what? Just voided the name correction and proclamation.
And let me say this, and let me add this too, because let's just say, be it a male, be it the father or the mother, whatever, if any one of them has got it, calls the police, right, then, it's like, let's say the brothers say, look, we're coming over there to, talk to this brother for putting out the sister and the baby, right? And the brother is the one who's used to calling the police. They'll call the 911 on the brother. So who wants to get into that mess? You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll call the 911 on the brothers that might come. Nobody is going to do that. If they did it once, they sure not going to do it twice. You understand? So, the removal, I don't know. It's hard with this relationship. All I can say is this, and this is spiritual and ancient scriptures and real talk. You got to be of the same yoke. The moment you find that you're not, for whatever reasons, you need to make plans for that right away, all right? Because even the prophet said, we're all in the same direction. So there it is. And of the same yoke. You cannot be sleeping in the bed with someone sleeping at your head that is not in the same yoke as you are for your intent of yourself, your family, your children, not going to work. I had someone call me the other day, sweet guy, and he's an elder. He's really, but his wife does not understand anything about what he's doing. So when he goes and does his little stuff and is rich, she goes and redoes them, rebuts them. I'm like, he said, what do I do? There's nothing you can do. The person you're fighting is right there in the house with you. I mean, you know what I mean? In a minute, if they get too tired of it, they're going to try to commit you. You know what I mean? Because these modern Europeans will assist to do that. They will assist to do just that. So you got to be in the same yoke. I just want to add that. Can't be doing that. I don't know whether this is the sister, but before I get back to her, because we just said a lot of things that maybe she needs to soak in for a second, I'm going to take the next caller. I believe, Carol, I believe you're 323-507. You still have your hand up. I just want to make sure that's you. Take your hand down, and then you can put it back up again if you wanted to speak. But I have you with your hand up, and I think I already saw you, if that's Carol. You know what? Let me just check and see. Hold on. And that's not her. 323. Hold on. 323-507. You're live on the air.
Peace and love.
All right. Peace and love, sis.
RVBey, how are you doing today?
Fine, and yourself?
Doing great, doing better. I actually had a question, and I know that it's not nationality principles, but I did have a question and see if you guys had any points of reference or study. Right now I'm active, obviously, and I've been working on a case, and they have me going down to a pretrial services once a week, which is kind of like a parole situation. The straw that they have me under, going there once a week. I've been trying to find some type of remedy to stop that. I wrote a writ of removal I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
I wrote a writ of removal that I sent to the Supreme Court in Philadelphia because I've been getting continuously blocked in the territory area of District of Columbia in every way, in every shape, in every form. So I just decided to completely move it to the Supreme Court in Philadelphia because nothing is happening here. But I'm still waiting on the docket number for that. So right now, my dad is very, 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 very ill, and he's in the territory of Arkansas. And because they have me bounded here, the straw really.
You have to write a writ.
Right,
because
I've been.
If they haven't adjudicated, how do they get to have you in a pretrial anything if there's no adjudication? Like, how is that even possible if it's pretrial? That means you haven't had a trial, therefore there's no adjudication of any kind. So how is it that someone is abiding with a pretrial? But, we can talk about that. Like you said, that's not here. But even with that, under the circumstances of your father and if your personal affairs, you would know how to gracefully write a writ and remove yourself from that situation to tend to your family affairs. And if you write it in a manner, I mean, I'm just telling you, one time, a long time ago, they had me coming back and forth to something, and I let them know in the beginning when I came that do not schedule me to come here or to do anything on a Wednesday. Now, you might be surprised, but guess what? They honored that. They honored that because I made it clear from the door on that matter. I said that is, I don't know, what it was the day of my livelihood or whatever I said. And, because I said it, it was honored and in a matter-of-fact way. So we just have to, so for you, I would have to say that you would have to write that because you're talking pretrial. There ain't even no adjudication. What the heck is that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right.
that is, that is what I would suggest you do to get the clink. Because that's a clink. That's like putting a thing in you on the left side, and then we're gonna put a thing in you on this side, and all this is pre-eat you on the plate as the steak. They look at you as the steak on the plate, but pre-eating you, we're gonna thank you here and we're gonna thank you there, and we ain't even adjudicated yet. We just gonna mess with you on this one and suck some blood here, and by the time you get to what's supposed to be the thing, the trial, because this is all pre, all right, then you won't even have any blood to stand. So stand up.
They won't even have a chance to even do that because they pushed. I wrote up a special appearance to go to the status hearing, what they were calling it. And I challenged jurisdiction, saying that no one had. I wrote a averment of jurisdiction and all of that prior, and no one answered. And then I challenged the jurisdiction, said that I was only going to be there to only challenge in the special appearance, just saying that I was there only to do that. The judge pushed the court date all the way until March. So that's plenty of time. Sorry, go ahead.
See what you applied law and you get a favorable reply. So you kind of come in clinks, but you applied law, right?
Right.
All right.
But now
so
just like what writ should I have been looking into the Bean, and it didn't seem like that's what I needed. That's why I've been just kind of searching for. I don't know how to go about it in a writ. Like I'm fine with writing a writ. No,
I don't have to have a title because it's yours. I'm writing this. Right. You know what I mean? Like really, it's still an affidavit that you put in. I mean, any writ is a writ. Something written. Certain things have a title based on, the process of, law or whatever, or intent or whatever, because remember, law is intent. It's notice and intent.
Right.
So that's what you're doing. This is your intent. So, it doesn't necessarily have to have a name per se under these circumstances of what you're writing for take into the consideration of, because you're taking into the consideration of my father, who is, whatever like that. So can we, I know that this is Mia, so can we discuss this? Can you just shoot an email to me? Because strategy, listen, what you have to do, the strategy that we're talking about really shouldn't be discussed on the line.
Okay, all right. Do you want me to do it to RVBey orders?
No, are you the 323, right?
Yeah.
323? How about if we give you, Sister Anita and myself, do a little conference with you on the line? Call you later.
That would be phenomenal.
All right. Peace and love.
Thank you. Peace and love.
All right. All right. Let's see, make sure I have that. All right. We now have next caller is 228627. I think she hung up. People, when you speak, you don't have to hang up afterwards. You can still listen in on the call. But anyway, 228627, you're live on the air. 228627. All right, they're not there. Let's go to 856-230. You're live on the air. Eight 230. You're live on the air. Are you there? 85622. I'm sorry. Actually, I apologize. I don't have 856. 228627 is not there. Are you there? Nope. Let me unmute that one. Sister Anita, are you still there? Something's not happening right. Calls are dropping. Let's see. All right. I got another number that just came in. 609-541. You're live on the air.
This is our family. This is Aisha, German Bay, calling from the territory of New Jersey. I just want to Islam. Thank you, family, because you always give us knowledgeable information to go study ourselves. Case in point, why I've been studying my astrology chart. So I was just calling in to see, because when you come into the science, you're going to constantly be learning. It's a rabbit hole. And I know how it is, people want to find remedies to a lot of things that they're going through. And for me, I think personally finding a clear remedy is learning yourself. So with that being said, I started, going on to RVBey, and I looked into the Sisters Standing on Law classes. And my question for you and E and Mother Roz, I really enjoy the class that you guys had set up with the syllabuses attached to them. I was wondering, will you guys be doing a format like that? Again, though I do love the Blog Talk radios, I kind of really enjoyed the fact that, we have a syllabus attached to the class. So people will kind of, study what it is we're learning.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. And I'm just asking, will you guys be pretty much doing a format like that? Because I would definitely love to have a class, because I know you love astrology. And I would love for you to, if you could, do a class, directed specifically towards that, because I feel like a lot of us really need that information, so we can then understand civics.
Civics for civilized people. Yes. I don't even know what to say about that. Because I don't know. And
well, I'll answer that. A lot of those classes, like for we did, because we're digging up information. Particularly, like with the Articles of Confederation, 1643 and 1777, and then we decided to analyze the American Constitution, because it's the law. That is the only law on this landmass. There is no other law. So when they say, "Oh, you violated law such and such and such and such," usually they'll give you a number. That's not law. That's a code. That's corporate policy and procedure. But many people, believe it or not, did not know the Constitution, never read it. And so that's why we did that. Same thing goes for the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. People talk about it, but few have ever read it. I think we did the, I can't remember, but I think we did the 1787 Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and I think we did the 1836. I don't quote, don't. I have to look at that. I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I know for sure.
And Eve, we did say that we were going to do the same exact thing with the treaty, with the syllabuses, breaking down each article, and we haven't done that yet. Go ahead.
Yes, we did. We did the 1787, but I'm not sure if we did the 1836.
With syllabuses? Not with the syllabus, the written syllabus that was. Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did. We probably didn't. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
I gotta double check that.
Yes, we did. But yeah, we did, because we did the salutations first. That was the first class.
Not sure. We gotta check on that.
Yeah, we did. But you know, the syllabuses, they came out. That whole process came out of, you know, this is the supreme law of the land, and most people haven't read it, much less studied it. And then, you know, many people talk about treaty, peace, and friendship, and they haven't even read it, much less studied it. So that's why we did that. And then in our looking, we found the Articles of Confederation, 1643, unauthorized, and then we found the, I want to say it's the 17, I don't think it's 1777. I think it's 17, I can't remember the exact date of the Articles of Confederation, but I said all of that to say that the syllabus classes come out of finding information, but it also was a way of showing people how to study. Because so often people will say, oh, what to study, or they demonstrate that they don't know how to study. So these were examples of how to study. We are going to be doing classes in the future with syllabuses, but those will be classes that people will have to pre-register for, and they will not be aired, because that will be for studies and strategy and things of that nature. And people may not realize it, but our calls are listened in on. So if we're coming up with strategy, you know, we can't, you know, put that strategy in a public venue where the very people who are attempting to attack people are listening in on our strategy as well. So the future classes that are coming up, they will be classes that people will have to pre-register for, and they will be either an all-day affair or a two, if we can pull it off, a 3-day all-day affair. But that's what we're doing. That's what.
And when they leave there, they have the truth hammered into them. We're not going to physically use the hammer. It's just the code for why do the tools of the workshop of the mind. Why do you use the hammer? To hammer in the truth until it is a part of everything. So we would think that they would be more inclined to actually effectuate the information rather than allow it to. And if I must say, that's what has happened now, and this is from the beginning of the broadcast. Some of the information that has been given, people did not study it. They go in and they've gone in and they've written writs and they don't even know what the hell they say. And so now they've come back with a think tank strategy and they're literally starting to write your charging documents in the phraseology of law, and it's colored, and the people are intimidated because they didn't even go and study that which was given to them. And they do. That's why when you say strategy, you know, like this is real talk stuff, because strategy is strategy, and sometimes it's specific to your specific situation. But once you learn certain things, you already know how to put your strategy together. But you will not give them your strategy. You don't put all your eggs in one basket because you already know who you're dealing with, and you don't do that. So. So that's what. So it just brought to my mind. That's why they're doing what they're doing now, and writing stuff to mimic and mark you, because they know what you're going to do next.
Not just that they're mimicking. It's not. I don't think that it's mimicking and mocking. Well, it is to a degree, but what it is it's showing people. It's showing up that look, y'all ain't even studying. Because look, a lot of the things that we are going through, like the prophet said, if we studied, it would have been over by breakfast. The fact that it's not demonstrates that we're not, that too many are not studying.
That's why I humbly thank you, mothers, for, you know, putting this information out here for other mothers to study. I think that's a great platform, the Sisters Standing on Law classes with the syllabus. It was easier for me to learn how to study better with that So I just wanted to, put that out there. Also, as I was studying, I would ask if you guys, because I know you guys are always busy, to go back and review the syllabuses, because some of the syllabuses that I had were not in the same likes of the actual broadcast, because there were like definitions that you were reading that weren't on the syllabus, but I was writing them down. So if you guys have some time to just go back and just review that.
Well, some of the definitions we probably looked up as we were reviewing.
Okay.
Yeah, we did do that sometimes.
But that's also part of study, because we can't. There's just no way to put everything in a syllabus, because then the syllabus would be too big.
Mm-hmm.
And that started happening on that one. I remember that, because I'm the one who was typing them up. However, if you have, since you already have take notice to that, maybe you can share with me what it is that aside from the fact that yes, there are some definitions that may not be on there, and I do recall one syllabus it was kind of screwed up. We something happened. We didn't.
Well, actually, on almost all of them, on every broadcast, we probably talked about some definitions that wasn't there, because when you're writing up the syllabus, there's just no way that you can put all of the definitions in there. But that was the whole point.
Mhm. But like you were saying earlier, when you were listening to the guy who was giving you the knowledge, you were writing notes. And it was like, okay, you're listening to the guy talk, but just like, okay, I don't think he's told me a secret. But because of me taking the notes down of what you guys are speaking of, I'm able to learn from that.
Gotcha.
And that was the lesson.
Yeah. So I thank you.
That was the lesson, to take your pick, because you'd be surprised how many times I've sat, and done class, and we're talking, and no one has a pen or paper. No one.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I will say this to answer the question about the astrology. You're giving me food for thought. That's why I said it, because he always tells me, why don't you just do the astrology, et cetera, et cetera. Elementary astrology teacher, in terms of laying out, and I know what most people want, because most people don't really get that there's three things basically, and that's your houses, and then it's the planets, and then it's the signs themselves. People don't realize that even though the sign is attached to a house, meaning that if Aries is in Aries, then Aries is at home, but that doesn't mean you were born that Aries was in the first house. And people kind of didn't get that, so they don't know how to take a circle and draw, and then put a cross through it, and then make the other pie, the upside down V, and put the planet where they are to really see their chart and understand how it goes. So diagrams like that I have already made. They're actually in psychology of astrology, or in how to interpret your natal chart. But what you're saying is, if I could give, if we could do a class similar with the syllabuses regarding that, maybe so, or we may wait, like Eve said, until we have private classes, and but I don't know. I got to give some thought to that. Thank you, though.
Well, Mother, just keep up the good work and uplifting the fallen humanity, and I appreciate you both.
All right.
I yield the floor.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for your call. And that concludes.
I think that's because
the Sisters Spending on Law broadcast.
Yeah. I want to say this though. I didn't see the sister who called that seems to be in distress. I thought her number came back up, but then this goes. Little concerned, but I just trust that they'll find it. Oh, wait a minute. 85. This is the last call. 856. If that is you that dropped out, if you would press 1, we can put you back in. But you do not have 1 press. I believe they called back in, but they didn't press 1. 856-540. If that is you and you had another question, please press 1 on your dial. All right. If you press it, that's them. And so with that being said, let me just double check because anyone who has their hand up is going to be up at the top anyway, so I don't have to go searching. Are you looking at the board? That's it. There's no more questions.
That's it.
Oh,
That's it. Oh, wait.
Hold on. There's one more. Just popped up. This will be the last caller. And that was the 856. Islam, you're on the line.
Islam, mothers.
Islam.
Peace and love to you all. This is Sekou L.
Hey, peace and love, brother Sekou.
All is well. I was just listening. I didn't even know I was in the queue. You know, I always feel ratified listening to y'all because it always confirms that, like, you know, a lot of people are in their own self-denial, their own self-truths. You know what I mean? You know, the more honest we could be with ourselves, like, I mean, for real, people out and out and robbing you and your family for how many years? Your nation for how many lifetimes? And you can't just put 2 and 2 together? So you going out trading with the enemy, still trying to get a payout in any form or fashion. And not realizing that payout is a detriment to your grandchildren because it's the same seduction that they've been placing on our people and nations over the world for years. So I just want to give thanks to y'all's great works and y'all's due diligence. A lot of the callers I heard, you know, real sharp. And even the sister that's on the line there. Because we have a habit of taking notes after we get the right message, I guess, because a lot of people don't really get the right message until they really start taking notes. And then when you see people taking notes, you can see the light shine and brighten up in their mind's eye, and they can see through the notes that they just took. Oh, yeah. So study is the order of the day. You know, and y'all, another great show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your call and your input. All right.
Thank you. All right. Peace.
All right. Peace. So with that,
all right.
Well, now what he just said was, don't be taking your liberties and your rights into a commercial venue because that's what these modern Europeans came over here for in the first place. That has nothing to do with you. Stop allowing them to rob you. And he was also saying, which I heard, is that many people go into this thinking they're going to get some finance. You know, that's all part of their capturing this and that and then going in to get finance. And what he's saying is you going right into the carrot to pull you in, and you're not thinking of family or posterity at all. So, Islam.
All righty, Islam. All right, so that concludes this broadcast of Sisters Standing on Law. Now, please keep in mind, this is a full week. We kick off this week with Sisters Standing on Law. Tuesday, we have Principles of Nationality in Action at 9:30. Wednesday, we have Moorish Heritage and History School beginning at 7:30. And Thursday, we have Sons of Allah beginning at 9 p.m. So this is a full information-packed week. So make sure that you're all ready and prepared with your pen and your papers to take notes. And with that, peace and love. I want to thank everyone for joining us, participating, and trust that the information that was provided will assist you. Peace and love.
Islam, peace and love. And remember, Abdullah will be live this Wednesday at New York. Abdullah Ultimate Day. So see you there. If you can't be there in the flesh, just call in at 7:30. Islam. Have a good evening.
Peace and love.
All right.
Rogers & Hollins is the oldest and largest family-owned jeweler in the country, and they stand behind everything they sell. They have an amazing selection